Welcome to Field Trials, a future farming webcast exploring innovations, issues, and perspectives in new farm technology. This is Matt, your Canadian farm kid and journalist host. Thanks for tuning in. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions and carbon markets are hot topics to say the least. With plenty of concerns and even more questions, though, getting into the carbon game is itself a complex subject. We're chatting with Robin Saluoks, CEO and founder of eAgronom, an Estonian-based company working in the carbon market space. We chat about the ins and outs of carbon markets, including farmer concerns, price per ton barriers, and plenty of other subjects. Maybe we can discuss, because this is an area that I certainly am rather ignorant on personally, is the actual measurement process of measuring sequestration based on different practices and changes. So what I understand now is that it would be, you take soil samples and you do that over a period of time. An issue with that is the repeatability of a sample. Like sometimes you can take a sample in the same place and the next year, and there really hasn't been that much different, but maybe you get a wildly different number that kind of freaks people out too, because then we go back to, am I vulnerable to having to repay, or am I violating a contract with the company, so on and so forth. So what's the modern system for measuring these things? I think it was like a lot of a move to geospatial measurement based off like smaller numbers, or at least just an initial core soil sampling. Is that right? How do you do it?
Yeah, so well, basically, I think there are different ways and different companies approach it differently. But we are working toward producing Verra certified credits. So Verra is one of the global NGOs, the global certifier. I think over half of the global carbon credits are certified by Verra. So VERRA.
You can tell I keep making little notes over here.
Yeah, so basically they have some different methodologies, and they have VM42, so Verra methodology 42, that is built for like soil, agricultural soil, organic carbon related projects, and basically we have to follow this, and it has really clear guidelines also for the model validation. So basically how you have to approach is that, first of all, you have to choose the soil model, something that would help to predict soil organic carbon change in the field. And this, it has to be a public soil model, and you have to prove in the region where you are doing the project with some peer-reviewed studies that this model would work well. And then after this, also inside the project, you have to pick the fields that are similar type of soil, similar weather, and so on, and then the similar crop rotation and practices. And you have to group those fields like this, and then on each group you have to do really heavy soil sampling as well. So you don't have to soil sample heavily all of the fields, but those fields that are
because you're based on kind of an aggregate model of other similar conditions, and so it's trying to take some of that. Gotcha.
And this is to prove that your soil model is working also inside your project. We have to still do soil sampling on every field to get input for the project, some like baseline, like some input, and then we model forward and backward. But then, yeah, the validation, we don't have to sample that heavily, because as you said as well, to get accurate results, first of all, it doesn't make sense to do soil sampling every year. There has to be some longer period, like 5 years. And secondly, we have to do enough samples per field so that the results would actually mean something. If you would do one or two, then yeah, it would be quite difficult to say, like, maybe we did in a slightly different place 5 years later, and that's why the result was different. And so basically we are following Verra's guidelines over there.
So, and I'm sure that anyone listening or watching this is aware, but in case anyone isn't, from experience, soil sampling is not a untime consuming task. It does take it doesn't necessarily take 20 hours in a day, but it's just one of those things. So I'm sure that reducing the amount of time you have to actually spend driving around and taking core samples would go a long way in itself. And I guess the question here, and I mean, we're obviously this is for an ag tech publication, and you're in the ag tech space, so this is obviously biased, but I mean, I think it's quite safe to say getting this on a mass scale probably wouldn't be nearly as practical if we didn't have tools like the ones that you're describing, or any other source of being able to do this like at scale easily. I'm looking at some of the it's the pretty pictures of the different colors of they show the field, and like the different colors representing different soil carbon levels and all that. I mean, it looks cool. I hope that it actually translates to results, because sometimes pretty pictures just they're pretty pictures. But
yeah, we have actually we are closely looking into those technologies. So right now we use satellites mainly to detect tasks and crops. So what crops are growing on the field, and how much biomass is reduced, and if there has been any cultivation events or something like this. But we haven't found any technology yet that is precisely measuring soil organic carbon from the satellite. So that is, and I think it's more likely, and we are testing these things also out to have like sticks, something that you put to the soil, and that will measure then. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how they work exactly. Maybe they put some electricity out and then see what's happening. But like these seem to be more like as the next thing. But who knows? So our assumption is that when we will start doing those second soil samples, then the soil sampling cost is already smaller, and because a lot of resources go into developing alternative solutions, and maybe you have to do like some amount of real soil samples just to calibrate those new innovative tools for your fields as well, and then you get those new tools to basically to do it in scale.
All right. Well, I'm just being mindful of time here. I guess maybe I'll just summarize a little bit that if anyone out there is actively promoting carbon market policies and prices and all that, just if they don't have any direct on-farm experience, just to remember that these are very complex questions in practice, and hopefully these things make it a little bit easier. I don't have any other questions for you, Robin. So if there's anything else you want to add, feel free. If not, I think we can let you go.
No, that's about it. And yeah, well, I'm always happy to speak about carbon farming.
All right. Well, it's not going away anytime soon, so I'm sure we can talk about it again.
Yeah, certainly. All right. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you got something out of the conversation. As ever, the idea is to explore topics, items, and perspectives in the ag tech space. So if you're interested in sharing your own perspective and joining us for a conversation, feel free to get in touch with the Future Farming team at futurefarming.com. You can also reach me directly at FurRural on Twitter. That's at FERRURAL on Twitter, or via ruralphilosopher.com. Thanks again for listening.